I have a challenge for all of you. Take a look at this color wheel behind me in 3, 2, 1, and tell me what you notice about it. I'm not looking for anything too profound here, just basic observations. For example, do you see that each color is different? Or do you see that there is no better, worse, best, or ideal? That they're all just unique in their own way? Well, you might be saying, well, yes, but that's kind of obvious, Naisha. And all I'm going to say to that is trust the process and keep that in mind as I share a short story with you. As a kid, I once challenged my art teacher, telling her that I could make the color gold from scratch. Even though technically I couldn't. But my 6-year-old self was way too stubborn to ever admit that. So when we finally started with paint, it was my personal mission to create the color gold. I tried mixing yellow with black and white, and it was a whole mess. My art teacher stood in the background somewhat like this, watching me struggle, and finally asked, "So what combinations of color make gold?" I replied with all the confidence that I wasn't feeling, a mixture of all colors. She smiled and said yes. Mixing all colors does make brown, but does it make you the bright gold that you wanted? It didn't. I've always thought colors to be a wonderful metaphor for human connections and relationships. Maybe it's the way they're so vibrant, the way that they add character to our lives. Either way, there's just something so alluring about colors, much like human connections. And just like there's a variety of colors, there is also a variety of connections that we make, not just over a lifetime, but in a day. Humans are social creatures, and we thrive on connections. Growing up, they define a lot about who we are as a person, and it's key to our well-being. In a day, we have so many different kinds of interactions that are all an opportunity for forming these connections. For example, every morning I go to the bus and I say hi to the little girl beside me, and I ask her what she's looking forward to that day. That's an interaction. The people that I don't really know the names of, but I say hi to in the corridor, those are interactions. The people that I share jokes with in class, even if I don't really know anything about them, those are interactions. My family friends that I only see at events or occasionally keep in touch with through social media, those are interactions. All of these are connections. And all of these matter because it is surprising just how much they add to our lives. But think about the labels given to us to define these connections. Conventional labels such as friend, parent, teacher, brother, sister are so limiting and inadequate. I mean, is the little girl I see every day a friend? Or the people that I smile at in the corridors? By conventional definition, no, they're not. But does that make them any less important? So we're really missing out, because restricted definition can in no way encompass all the different interactions that we have in our life. How many of us do that? How many of us curb the definition of connections as people that we know really well or spend a lot of our time with? That's definitely one type. I repeat, it's a type. It's not a must. For all the niches that we find in social media, it is surprising how many things still remain greatly oversimplified. I mean, there's literally an aesthetic for everything, and even our most random thoughts feel seen and heard. Yet there is an unfortunate downplay to so many parts of our lives. Relationships and human connections are one of them. Popular media often encourages us to go look for our great love or spend time with our true friends. And yes, while deep emotional connections are important, they're certainly not everything. We can't start rating our connections on a scale and deciding what's more important and comparing them to each other because fundamentally, they're all different and they all shape our lives in a different way. They're the ones that add color, highlight, and make life all the more worth living. So pause with me here. What if, instead of using these conventional labels, we described a person's place in our life based on the color that they add to it? It's time to take this metaphor a step further using the psychology of color. So bear with me as I paint here. The little girl that I see every day adds a touch of yellow because when she talks about dressing up and going to events, it makes me feel like I'm younger, and the warmth that I feel is incomparable. The people that I see every day in corridors add hints of blue, because there's a comfort in knowing that I'll see them at the same place every time, and it's always something to look forward to. My family friends add hints of green when life gets overwhelming or monotonous, because they're a breath of fresh air, and they also keep me grounded. My friends add pink and orange with their optimism, faith, love, and the way that we feed into each other's dreams and imaginations. None of these colors are the same, and neither is what each person, each connection, each relationship adds to our lives. Coming back to the lesson that I learned at 6 years old, mixing everything together, trying to equate all these connections to each other, having the same expectations for all of them without truly appreciating the beauty that comes with these differences, leads to brown, not gold. We think finding a few people who fulfill all these different needs would lead to success and happiness, but really, we end up with an underwhelming version of what we had first imagined. The brown to our gold. You see how plain life would be with just one color, one connection overpowering everything else? Or worse, when we try to mix everything together and we end up with something dull. Instead, by embracing each connection, each color, and their vibrancies, and giving them all a space on the canvas of our life, we craft a mosaic that frames our lives beautifully. And I haven't even told you the best part yet. Your life's canvas might have more red. Your life's canvas might have peach instead of pink. Your life's canvas might have a whole load of yellow. Everyone's canvas is different. Everyone's canvas has its own color combinations, its own textures, its own brushstrokes. It's unique to us. It's special to us. It may look chaotic, but it's actually perfectly balanced. I strongly believe that relationships, connections, and people in general cannot be defined by straight lines or made to fit into boxes. They're free, flexible, and adaptable, as they should be. So what's the main takeaway here? I mean, I've painted, I've talked about colors and connections. My main takeaway for all of you is to remember that our connections are colors that come together, Keyword being together, to frame our lives, to brighten up our lives. Each connection we make is a stroke on the canvas that we build over years, transforming our life from a one-dimensional space to a multi-dimensional wonderland. So let's live in the present. Let's pay attention to each and every connection that we make and live with them in the now, instead of trying to oversimplify and compartmentalize something that's already beautifully made. I'm Naisha Rajani, and thank you for listening to my talk.